We're on the air, and it's once again race day today in California. It's another beautiful mid-afternoon setting in the Golden State as we get set for today's NR2003 Mission Barbecue Cup Series race, the Jukt Micronics 300K. And a pleasant good afternoon to everyone tuning in to today's coverage of the second race of the 2025 MBCS season as we welcome you back to the Willow Springs International Raceway with live coverage on the North American Sim Racing Network. And once again up in the NESRN booth today, my name as always is Trey Wright. We are back at the track for the second race of this weekend's doubleheader with the Flowmaster Grand Touring Championship race concluding yesterday and hopefully looking for a calmer contest than we saw yesterday for the Napa, California Grand Prix, featuring a terrifying 8-car pileup on the opening lap and ending with another dominant performance by Mike Vincent Jr. for GT Le Mans, his second win this season in the GTLM class, as well as for Alexander Rowe, who led every single lap in yesterday's race for GT Daytona. But for Mike Vincent Jr., he got a little bit of help from the racing gods in the process, going from 4th to 1st in just a handful of corners. But that was yesterday and in the past as we look ahead to today's 34-lap race around the famed track in Central Cali. And after a great race in Daytona last Saturday, we are all the way over on the West Coast for the next 3 weeks. Willow Springs today, Oregon International next week, and Vancouver International up in Washington State the week after to conclude our West Coast swing for 2025. We're glad to have all of you guys on board and tuning in to all the action this season on the North American Sim Racing Network. But if yesterday was any preview for how this race is going to go, it's all about starting position on the start, but throughout these 34 laps, it's all about car control. We saw several times yesterday drivers overdrive in the corners, particularly in turns 3 and 5 on their exits, and end up junking their cars for poor finishes in the FMGTC race yesterday. So we hope that that's not the case today, but ultimately when the green flag flies, it'll be interesting to see how these drivers race the opening first few laps, especially jumbled up double file on the start. But one final thing before we get set for today's race, you might have noticed it yesterday and you're noticing it right now, a little bit more green than we're used to with these cup cars racing at Willow Springs. We're finally racing in the winter months and it's about as green as a leprechaun out here in Rosamond. So it's definitely a beautiful sight to see all 42 of these cars roaring around this 2.5 mile long road course with the sun shining, the birds chirping, and the grass being clean and green here in today's race in late February. But without further ado, it's that time of the broadcast once again, which means it's go time in Cali. Let's go down trackside to get the most famous words in motorsports to get things rolling for the Jukt Micronics 300K.
Drivers, start your engines!
And the engines roar to life on the pit lane at Willow Springs, 42 cars ready to do battle. Underneath the Central California sun, it's the two former RF Trackhouse teammates making up the front row for today's race. Reggie Fogelman, who was one of the 8 drivers involved in that opening lap crash in GT Le Mans, will lead this field to green. Angel Gutierrez starts next to him in the 28 machine. Gutierrez's teammate and team owner Eric Monaco starts behind him in the 4 car to make up row number 2 alongside with the 27 of Rogel Dorn. And Bruno Diacomo starts next to Dano Giorgi to make up row number 3. Another top 5 start for Dano Giorgi as Diacomo looks to get his second straight win for Otter Island Motorsports. There's your Daytona 500 champion. Dylan Matthews starting deep in the field in that number 75 machine. There'll be 34 laps of action around the 2.5 mile long Willow Springs International today. Stages at laps 10 and 20. Once again, no stage cautions and no cautions of any kind today, per the Mission Barbecue Cup Series rules at the road courses. Pit window for everyone will begin at lap 18, once again making the end of stage 2 interesting strategy-wise. And finally, your 3 previous winners of the Jukt Micronics 300K are Charlie Davenport, Caleb Rose, and Danny Fallington. Davenport slots in the 7th spot. Rose starts in 29th, and Fallington, the deepest of the trio, starting shotgun on the field in 42nd in that blue and white Fastenal number 16. Stealth Motorsports teammate starting on the outside pole of Reggie Fogelman. It's a picture-perfect day here in Willow Springs, California. Pace car makes the right-hander into the pit lane. Fogelman will lead the field into the race's restart zone, and race number 2 is live as the green flag flies once more in California. Good start for Fogelman on that outside lane, transitioning to inside, going through the Castro corner, and now we nearly have 3 wide action as Owen Miles is off the road in the 05. He's able to get back down and going. 3 wide going into the Jukt Micronics balcony for the first time today. Could be trouble brewing. Heard some contact in the back here, but everybody will get through turn 5 with ease as back up front for the race lead. Angel Gutierrez trying to get around that 3 machine as they go through the kink. Through the Monroe Ridge into the wings leg. Side by side for the race lead. Angel Gutierrez trying to take it away from the 3 as they go into the sweeper for the opening time. Gutierrez, who ran into trouble in the opening stages of yesterday's race, was able to finish the race for GTLM in the top 10. And he'll lead lap number 1 as Reggie Fogelman doing a little bit better than he did in yesterday's race, able to complete a lap as Rogel Dorn will slot up to second. Saw a couple of cars lose through turn number 9. That was Nathan Stapleton. Went off the road just a little bit there in the 79, rather, the 97. Able to get back and going as a little bit of contact between Stapleton and Daniel Bouchard. That is the battle for 31st deep in the field. There's a look at yesterday's pole sitter for GTLM. 21 machine is somebody. Not sure, somebody got a little bit loose going through the corner as we're focusing with Reggie Fogelman, or rather Roberto Crown Jr. Pole sitter for yesterday's race in GTLM, and now Reggie Fogelman is off the road just a little bit, as is Dano Georgi. Georgi very slow as he aggressively cuts back onto the course. And this is going to stack up these guys just a little bit as Georgi trying to get back under speed. A tough break for Georgi. We'll see what happened in the 34 car in just a couple of moments. Not sure. That Dodge cut a tire. These guys move back onto the track, and a little bit of contact there in the back. Everybody will remain straight for the time being, and Georgi is going to stay on the track for now. We'll take a look at what happened to that 34 car as a 3 of Fogelman got knocked back a couple of positions. Angel Gutierrez running up front in that 28 machine. Taking a look at Riley Sampson as he runs in the 4th spot. Sampson, one of the many cars who DNF'd out of yesterday's race. Carson Miller and Bruno Diacomo, 2 more drivers that had a little bit of trouble in the GT Daytona class. I believe Esteban Lacer was able to get up to 3rd yesterday, as you see the tire tracks in the kink from that incident last lap. Fogelman able to scrounge back up to 10th. Esteban Lacer was able to pick off another position from that Coke Zero number 3. Side by side, battling between a couple of rookies, Diacomo and Carson Miller. Miller on the outside of that 8 car, and he might lose another spot as Rogel Dorn. Really close for comfort. Running up on that FYE is, oh my goodness! Hard into the attenuator went San Vitale. We saw that right on the corner of our screen, and he went in hellaciously hard into that divider, and he will end up finishing last in this race. Taking another look at that, get a little bit loose off of the corner, and just like we saw with Tyler Reynolds last season, pow, right into that attenuator. Horrifying lick for Alex San Vitale, and one of the more consistent guys from last season. Not starting off well for him as Campbell Marsh will go off the road in the 31. Horrifying crash there for San Vitale as he'll be the first car to be junked in this race, and he will. That'll only be 1 point for San Vitale. Tough break the owner driver of that number 96 car. Looking at Bruno Giacomo picking up some more positions in that 79 as Charlie Davenport will get around Eric Monaco for that second spot. Like we mentioned at the top of the show, Davenport starting this race in the 7th position. Dano Georgi will finally hit the pit lane after that incident with Fogelman on lap 2. Nothing officially on the scoring monitor coming across our airwaves just yet. So now the opening 4 laps are underway as everybody will spread out just a little bit more. And unlike yesterday's race and all the races in the FMGTC, there's no class racing. Everybody's got equal ratings. Nobody's going to run up on a lap car, but they might run up on each other as Eric Monaco nearly wheel hopping it going into turn 6. Everybody trying to hunt down that 28 machine. Gutierrez trying to get Chevrolet back into victory lane for the first time. A couple of races. Toyota winning the Daytona 500 last week with that 75 car. Dylan Matthews, as Matthews didn't get a good jump off of the start. She's fallen back a little bit in that 75. Right now, fastest lap of the race belonging to Matthews' teammate Bruno Giacomo, who we mentioned was picking drivers off one at a time. Right now, the biggest mover in this race is Giacomo, currently running in the 4th spot. Started this race all the way back in 6th. So actually, I'd say Danny Fallington is probably the biggest mover so far in the 16. Fallington started 42nd. Right now running in the 33rd spot. A little bit of debris in the corner. That's actual debris. We're not like NASCAR where we'll actually show you if there's debris. But again, it looks to be just cosmetic, so I don't think it's going to really affect anything. But back to what I was going to say a couple of moments ago about the Chevrolets is Gutierrez has led all 5, now will lead all 6 laps so far in this contest. Chevrolets are an endangered species this season. Of course, you got the Chevy Power Racing guys and Appleseed Racing, that makes up for 6, and then you got 9 for all the other guys for Stealth Racing, Stealth Motorsports, but other than those 9, I believe that's all the Chevrolets we've got in the field. This season is very much Ford and Toyota dominated. Only 3 teams fielding Chevrolets, everybody else running blue ovals and damn cheating Yoders. And even a plethora of Dodges. And Carson Miller, the rookie, running Dodge. Now, Titan Fury Racing expanding to a 3-car operation with that 31 car right there. But it's mostly just been dominated by blue ovals as NS Racing. You see Michael Lewis in that 90 car, another driver racing in yesterday's race. Had a quiet day in the 56 machine for GT Le Mans. But one of the NS Racing cars that switched over to Ford. We're typically used to seeing a lot of Chevrolets dominate up front. You know, having their way Burger King style, but right now, early on, it's going to be a rarity to see those bow ties up the front of this field. Especially since Charlie Davenport and a Ford and a Toyota right now rounding out the rest of the podium as Eric Monaco has been passed by Bruno Giacomo, and Giacomo has been on the move. He hasn't been the biggest mover yet, but he does have the fastest lap in this race, which is about 3/4 of a second faster. Or 3/100 of a second faster than Angel Gutierrez, just a little bit, but whatever Benny Watson's team has been doing with those cars, doing a pretty good job at it. As somebody went around in the back, and it looks like it was Alexander Rowe who had an issue all the way in the back, and it does not look like yesterday's good fortunes for the GT Daytona Dominator. We'll pave the way as we'll take a look at what happened in that 84 car. Getting turned around a little bit in the back. Only 3 incidents in the opening 8 laps of this race so far. Everybody's been pretty much spread out. No big wrecks aside from San Vitale. Pretty much split himself like a coconut on the attenuator. Everybody running single file, double file a little bit here and there. No 3 wide like saw a little bit of yesterday, but everybody's drafting on one another. This is a track similar to Watkins Glen, in which you're in the gas for most of the time. There's not a whole lot of technical turns. I would only say that the Budweiser balcony, or the Jukt Micronics balcony, excuse me, is the only real technical part of the track where you're taking a look at the layout. You're basically on the brakes for just a little bit, and you're just babying the throttle. Through turn 5 and into turn 6, a little bit of a kink, but other than that, pretty much in the gas from the Monroe Ridge all the way into the sweeper, and then the apex between the sweeper and turn 9, you're laying on the gas, laying on the brake rather, just a little bit. Full throttle through on the front straightaway to the start-finish line, and right at the exit of pit lane is where you come to the Castro corner and back it down just a little bit to make up the rest of this race. As interesting strategy as hello everybody coming down the pit lane. Lap number 9. Looks like these guys are going to turn this into a 2-stop race after all. I thought Angel Gutierrez had an issue, but he will come down the pit lane. And he'll take 4 tires. Again, all these guys are able to do about 18 to 20 laps, but everybody coming in on lap number 9 into 10. We'll see if anybody decides to stretch it. 4 tires off the mark. Out and away goes Gutierrez. 15:22 from Esteban Lasser, the fastest pit time of the race so far. Right now, that would give Lasser, was able to gain a couple of spots. Giacomo lost some time in the 79, but for Lasser, that would give him 5 bonus points. Rogaldorn will inherit the lead. We'll see if he comes down the pit lane. I imagine that these guys are going to end up turning this race probably 2, maybe a 3-stop race. As Dorn will indeed come down, and it's feeding time on the pit lane, and this is actually the end of stage number 1. So Rogaldorn, racing right now at about 35 miles an hour, will lead a 13 car. Igor Barreto just barely not able to get the win in stage number 1. A little bit of contact on the pit lane as it's feeding time on the pits here. We'll see as Dano Georgi will come down. Georgi on the lead lap. Everybody will come back out onto the track as Reggie Fogelman getting some service in that 3 car, and we'll cycle out for the first time today. That is perplexing that these guys are going to make this a 2, potentially 3-stop race. It's very interesting to see that as Rogaldorn trying to find his wheels. 3 wide off for the corner. Giacomo trying to be very, very aggressive. And he is going to get away with it for now. I thought Rogaldorn was going to run on the back end of that 79. Everybody will get away with it for now, as cycling out to the lead will be Igor Barreto. As right now, Barreto will come down. Same thing with John Andrews. Dano Georgi is able to get a bonus point out of all that, and everybody's staying on an extra lap at the end of stage 1. Somebody's got hood damage, and no surprise to see Zachary Fitzwater. Another issue in the 99, not been a good start to the season for Fitzy. Same thing for Ryan Durrani, who's got some hood damage on that 86 Prime. Some rear end damage on Logan Alexander as well, so he had a stack up in the pits, and not good news for Braden Perez either, as Looks like he was caught up in that log jam way off of the corner. Going the 32 and the 05 trouble for Caleb Rose and Owen Miles as they go off track. Two Pacific Racing cars and both Dracoan Racing machines involved in incidents on lap number 12. Brenna Wilmington getting the news now that both of his cars had issues, and trouble for John Andrews. As he comes back out onto the track, Dano Georgi will get a couple of bonus points for leading some laps in that 34 machine, but had a pretty big incident on the pit lane as we'll take a look at it right now. Again, this is a very narrow pit lane as we see some front-end damage on Juan Rodriguez too. So both Fallout Racing drivers having issues here today. Mamma Mia Santa Maria is all I can say, as Dano Georgi will be surpassed by the 28 of Angel Gutierrez. And that'll be all she wrote for this opening cycle of pit stops, which it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to make things interesting. Now to take a look at the incident between Caleb Rose and Owen Miles, and Miles looks to just overcooked it going into turn 9, and that was unfortunately the end result there as Bradley Ream looks to get the 2-for-1 special on the inside. See a little bit of damage to the 47 of Derek Hamels. Looks like he was caught up in that incident on the pit lane as well. Fogelman trying to take the long way around, putting a couple of those fresh Hoosier tires up into the gravel, and he might actually pull it off. Just trying to get through the corner, trying to roll that 3-car into the corner. And Angel Gutierrez back out front in that 28 as Dano Georgi slip sliding around. Rogel Dorn will do some agricultural work as well as Georgi back onto the pit lane. Same thing with Ryan Durrani. Corey Case is off the road as well. I think Case wanted to come down the pit lane, and he's going to pay dearly for it. So drivers who had damage, Nathan Stapleton down as well, and Dylan Matthews. John Andrews, 15-19 looks to be the fastest stop as both American Motorsports cars are in the service area. That's Matt Wolf, who also came down the pit lane. Well, this will jumble up the rest of the field. Some more debris all the way on the top of the Jukt Micronics balcony. See a little bit of front-end damage on the 75 of Matthews. She's able to get back out and going, and I don't know if she's able to keep her lap. Taking a look at Danny Fallington. Running a little deep in the field in that 16 car. Trying to see where Fallington is right now in the 30th spot. But flashing all the way back to the front of this field, it's been all Angel Gutierrez in this race so far, aside from the couple of laps where Rogel Dorn led. Charlie Davenport drawing a little bit of a beat on that number 28 car. Right now, lap 15 of 34. Approaching the midway point of the Jukt Micronics 300K, so before we potentially get into our second set of pit stops, what do you say we go downstairs and for a Twisted Tea race break, let's go through the field, presented by Fram. Angel Gutierrez leads the way in the 28 machine, but Charlie Davenport drawing in a little bit closer in that number 98 car. Eric Monaco is in third, Esteban Lacer in fourth, and Bruno Diacomo cabooses the top 5. Sixth is Carson Miller, seventh is Alexander Rowe. He's got some rear end damage. His teammate may have ran into him on the pit lane actually, but Rowe is still out there. Brenna Wilmington looking for 7th in the 8th spot. 9th is Rogel Dorn. He'll take 8th away actually, and 10th now will be Alexander Rowe. Matthew Hubert is 11th, Riley Sampson Actually, Matthew Hubert will be 10th, and he will. So 11th is Riley Sampson, 12th Keegan Thompson, 13th Bradley Ream, 14th Campbell Marsh. Actually, 14th is Reggie Fogelman, 15th Campbell Marsh, 16th Skylar Taylor, who's got some rear end damage on the 45, 17th Juan Rodriguez, 18th Toby Murphy, 19th Corey Case, and rounding out the top 20, Roberto Crown Jr. Igor Barreto cabooses the first half of the field. Cole Sampson is 22nd, 23rd Braden Perez, 24th Thomas Troxel, 25th Logan Alexander, 26th John Andrews, 27th Ryan Durrani, 28th is Logan Williams, 29th Mitchell Collins, and 30th is Danny Fallington. 31st Matt Wolf, 32nd Dano Georgi, 33rd Alex Lozano, 34th Elijah Gordon. Michael Lewis will come out in 35th as all three NS Racing drivers had issues. 36th was Dylan Matthews, 37th Zachary Fitzwater, 38th Daniel Bouchard, 39th is Nathan Stapleton, 40th is Owen Miles. Last car on the field right now, Caleb Rose, rockin' P41, and that will do it for your Through the Field presented by Fram. Next time by will be the halfway point, the Jukt Micronics 300K, as we look ahead to the next 2 weeks of racing here in the Mission Barbecue Cup Series. The next fortnight of races will be up in the Pacific Northwest, where the Mission Barbecue Cup Series will make its debut at the Oregon International Raceway in Portland, Oregon for the Dutch Bros 500, a pair of 500-milers in the Pacific Northwest, in fact. And we'll have the AutoZone 500 at the Vancouver International Speedway. Our only short track, by definition, of the season, as it sounds like somebody had an issue, and come back down to the pit lane as Corey Case and Alexander Rowe. Those guys, a little bit of issues in the back. No harm, no foul as they come back down into the service area. Danny Fallington is into the pits once more. The field will run into lap traffic, trying to see what this 28 car is, and there he is all the way at the front. Esteban Lasser a little wide off of the corner. No harm, no foul there. Let's see what the interval between 20 and the 98 is, and closing in 0.2 of a second. The 98 of Charlie Davenport won the first ever race for the Mission Barbecue Cup Series here back in 2021. Looking to get another road course win under his belt. In fact, I believe this is Davenport's last win. Mission Barbecue Cup Series all the way back in 2021. Or was that 2022 that he won? I believe it was 2021. We'll look on the official sheet here. Davenport, yeah, he won here in 2021, and he won, yeah, because I was confused because Pyrrhus was his first ever win, and I thought that came a season before, but no. Charlie Davenport's last win here. The Mission Barbecue Cup Series coming in 2021 here at the Willow Springs International Raceway. It's been a long time coming for Charlie Davenport as see if he closes in. No, he lost 0.6 of a second. A good lap for Angel Gutierrez that last time by as Matthew Hubert's got the fastest lap of the race. Again, these guys can go about 15 to 18 laps. Hope to see if they stretch it out a little bit on this next cycle. We come around to 15 laps to go next time by. If these guys decide to make it a 3-stop race, muy interesante. That's all I can say. Muy interesante is flashing through the rest of the field. And it looks like we got another really strong rookie class this season. Lasser, Diacomo, and Miller, 4th through 6th right now, populating in the top 10, and Rogel Dorn making his presence known in that 8th spot. Good runs for the Vision Motorsports guys. Another new team fielding Fords. Matthew Hubert, who drove the 75 last season, now rocking in that 23 car, looking to have another good year And here we go, lap 19. It looks like it is going to be a 3-stop race. I guess all these drivers are electing to take fuel and tires over track position. So white flag will wave for stage number 2. And this is when we initially expected these guys to come in. So this, again, this is very interesting. These guys pitting 3 times where we only anticipated them to come down once. But it is going to jump with these guys a little bit more. You know, it makes it more of an endurance race, as out and away will be Gutierrez. Gutierrez compared to 98, had a half-second faster pit stop than Charlie Davenport, and that is going to translate hugely onto the racetrack as Esteban Lasser will come out in the 3rd spot. Dano Georgi right now will be in 2nd. Actually, I think it's Georgi's teammate of Matt Wolf. Right now will be the leader. Well, I mean, in front of this 28 car, but I think Gutierrez is going to easily catch up to Wolf to get the lead irregardlessly. But final lap of stage number 2. See if Carson Miller will come down the pit lane this time by, and he will. Does anybody try to stretch it to take that stage number 2 win? Everybody coming down the pit lane. Campbell Marsh. No, Igor Barreto. Can he get the stage 2 win, the start-finish line in time? He's flying down. And Igor Barreto will get the win for stage number 2 by just a tiny, tiny bit there, as Thomas Troxel will also stay out along with the 7 of John Andrews. And I'm liking that strategy from both Barreto and Troxel. You know, getting the stage win while you can. Carson Miller will come off in 7th. Oh, some more contact on the pit lane as the 5 got ran into by the 48. 17. Logan Williams running the back of the 71. More contact between the 86 and the 58. Again, a very, very narrow pit lane at Willow Springs. And that will cycle everything out. Your stage 2 results posted on the screen right now. Igor Barreto and Thomas Troxel will get 10 and 9 points respectively. Same thing for John Andrews, as we expect these drivers to come down the pit lane one more time, this time by. Or this lap by. Barreto will wheel it down in the 13 car. Same thing with Troxel and Andrews, as Matt Wolf will get 5 bonus points for leading a lap if he stays on the track this time by. And Angel Gutierrez hunting down that 38 car, who's off strategy. Wolf will stay out. He'll log a lap lead as everybody will head down the pit lane, those who stayed out for the points. Matt Wolf will be out front. Same thing with Angel Gutierrez, who's drawing a bead on that 38 car and trying to claw his way back into the conversation as Charlie Davenport. Off cycle is Dano Georgi, so he is a non-factor. Right now, the gap between the 28 and the 98, about a second. Charlie Davenport looking to put the chrome horn to the back end of Dano Georgi. It's been a rough weekend for Georgi. Was caught up in an incident on lap 1 yesterday. Start for the GT Le Mans race. As, some contact made between Davenport and Georgi is off the road. Goes Charlie Davenport. That's going to open the door for Esteban Lasser to try to take that 2nd spot away. It's nearly some contact between Gutierrez and Matt Wolf, as that got pretty dangerous going out of turn 5. And there is going to be contact as around broadside go the 63 and the 20. Thomas Troxel had to slam on the brakes there. We got a stack up in the balcony. Damage to the back end of that 63 as Willow Springs not playing nice this weekend. It's Toby Murphy not going to DNF out of the race, thankfully. But once again, struggling a little bit in that 20 car. And Alex Lozano's been on the pit lane for a hot minute. Not sure if he had a mechanical issue or what. But now Esteban Lasser has gotten around the 34 of Dano Georgi as Matt Wolf has gone down the pit lane. Georgi splitting these leaders 3 wide. Here comes Davenport looking to shoot the gap between the 34 and 64. Three-way drag race going into the kink. Who's the first one to lift? None of them do. Georgi is actually the one who will play it safe and will let the faster cars go past. Angel Gutierrez continues to drive home in that 28. Now they should be able to make it on fuel. The rest of the distance, I don't know if these drivers will want to risk it. You know, I don't think Angel Gutierrez is going to want to come down, as Dano Georgi will come down the pit lane once again for probably be his third and final stop. Again, a very weird day here at Willow Springs. Everybody coming down, making a 3-stop race. Guess everybody just saw the strategy that the leaders were taking. You know what? Follow the leader. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's Carson Miller sandwiched between a couple of Chevrolets and that Dodge. He's going to get booted up to the high side by Eric Monaco going into the balcony as more tire tracks are prevalent. Giacomo trying to race to the inside of that 23 of Hubert. Carson Miller will get the 2-for-1 special, getting around Keegan Thompson for that 5th spot. Rather make it the 4th spot for Carson Miller, looking for another banner day in that 8 machine. Finished top 5 in the Daytona 500. I believe he finished 2nd, in fact. The Great American Race. Indeed, he did. Drag race for the penultimate spot between Davenport and Lasser, as those two will be 3 seconds behind the 64, as out comes that 05 Owen Miles. Tough road to hoe for Miles, who's still looking for a 2nd career win in the Mission Barbecue Cup Series. Not going to come today, is off the road. Went the 28 of Gutierrez, a little bit of a brief, scary moment for the dominant driver of today's race. 10 laps to go in the Jukt Micronics 300K. Some more damage as Keegan Thompson has come down the pit lane. I do believe that Keegan actually was a little bit off cycle in the 14. He did start this race deep in the field. A little bit surprised to see him up there, but Keegan Thompson making his final pit stop, and hey, now if this race goes 10 laps to go, I mean, there's 10 laps to go in this race, and if these guys elect to pit once again, which they've been coming down every 10 laps, we got 34 laps to go, they very well, this could make this race very interesting. You know, again, you see Dano Georgi and Matt Wolf. You know, if they're able to stay out and stretch this to those 3 pit stops, I could see Dano Georgi potentially fighting for that lead. Or Matt Wolf, because Wolf hasn't had any issues, unlike Georgi, as Toby Murphy will hit the pit lane. It's been a tough road to hoe for him. Same thing for Alexander Rowe and Corey Case. Gutierrez has gotten around the lap car of Owen Miles. But now, is Gutierrez willing to risk it on fuel? Again, these guys can do 15 laps. I'm not sure why they're deciding to come down every 10 laps, but we'll get our answer in the next 4 laps or so of what's going to be what. But I can tell you one thing, is some tire tracks off the corner. Seeing everybody else is knocked out is Toby Murphy with a mechanical issue. Not the start that you want for this season, as Murphy will join Alex Anvatale in the garage area with a mechanical issue. 2nd ever issue under the hood for Toby Murphy is Danny Fallington cutting his way through the field. Fallington did come off cycle So he's got fresh tires, but is a lap down compared to everybody. See how these fresh Goodyears, rather these fresh Hoosiers, fare well with the rest of the field, particularly if he catches up to the 28 of Gutierrez in the next couple of moments. 40 cars is Dano Georgi back in the pits once again, and stop number 4 for Georgi. I really don't know why these guys just continue to pit. You know, it's not really messing up the flow of this race. If anything, it's made this race interesting and not an all-out domination fest for Gutierrez if he comes down again. But if I'm a betting man, Georgi only took 2 tires that last time by. Now, if these guys pack it in full of fuel, they come down once again. Very, very well. Could see some split strategy on the pit lane, as right behind the 64 comes the 16. Fallington, the defending winner of this race, is a lap down, along with Owen Miles in the 05. I don't know if these guys are going to come down again. Really don't know. Lap 29 and 30 are going to be the money lap. That's for sure. That is what we know, and who knows, the rest of these guys stayed out a couple of laps, you know, trying to find where Igor Barreto is. There's Barreto in the 13, who's currently running in the 15th spot. See if Barreto is able to stretch out his fuel just long enough. And here we go. Answer on lap number 28, the money stop for the 28 car. So everybody will come onto the pit lane, and I think it's a little too late in the run, too early in the race for a guy like Igor Barreto to potentially stretch it, or Matt Wolf. Carson Miller will stay out. Angel Gutierrez is in. Next time by will be 5 laps to go in the Jukt Micronics 300K. And is indeed a 2-tire stop for Angel Gutierrez. Esteban Lasser, the same thing in the 64. We know these crew chiefs are able to get crafty. It's only half the amount of fuel in that tank for Esteban Lasser. Now can Lasser catch up to the 28? Was able to gain in a lot of ground onto Gutierrez. It's the 17, 86, and everybody in front of these guys being led by the 13 of Igor Barreto off cycle and trying to stretch it out just a couple more laps. Carson Miller right now leading the way in that 8 machine. Again, they lap back to the 16 and the 05. Carson Miller will make his final stop right here and right now. Into the pit lane is that FYE Dodge. The rest of the field will join them, coming around to 5 laps to go in the Jukt Micronics 300K. Miller will get another lap led. No. Taking the 5 to go signal will be the 13 of Igor Barreto. Where does everybody else slot in? Meanwhile, this battle for the eventual race lead is heating up. Esteban Lasser right on the back bumper of Angel Gutierrez, as these guys will take 5 to go. Trying to see where Matt Wolf is right now. Wolf has come down the pit lane once again. There's Wolf. Actually, Wolf's got some damage in that 38, so he's going to be a non-factor. But the way these guys are racing right now, this is going to be the battle for the race lead. Lasser right on the back end of the 28. Third car in line is Carson Miller, and he's got a boatload of steam in that 8 car. Looking for the crossover is Lasser. He puts the back end of the 28. Damage on the 64 of Esteban. And that might take him out of the race. Carson Miller definitely coming in that 8 car. We'll see how long Barreto is able to stretch it. If he comes down this time by, he will. Into the pit lane go the 13, the 00, and the 7, and that may have been the race right there as Esteban Leclerc trying to put the chrome horn to the back of the 28 car, and to no avail. And we'll see if Esteban will stay out on the track and try to race for this win a little bit more. It's not over with 4 to go. Gutierrez has dominated this entire race as he looks to set sail over the 64 of Leclerc. And like we said, this track, similar to Watkins Glen, and where how aerodynamics does matter. A lot of front end damage on the front end of that 64 of Leclerc, but he is not letting Gutierrez get away. Gutierrez cycling out to be the race leader. Leclerc hot on his heels with a damaged Schweppes Ford. Does Carson Miller have enough time to gain on these two stricken machines? See what the interval is next time by. I don't know. If I were a betting man, my money's on Gutierrez. He does have some damage on the rear end, and he learned his lesson from yesterday, able to keep car control in the Jukt Micronics corner. Wide through the corner goes the 64, and Leclerc losing a lot of time in that Ford. Miller is still going to be about 3 seconds back with 3 to go. That time by, opening up a 1.16 second gap is that 28 of Gutierrez. Still 3.5 seconds back is Carson Miller. This is Gutierrez's race to lose. Matt Wolf back out on the pit lane. Finally back out is Alex Lozano after spending an extended amount of time in the pits. And that might be all she wrote for Esteban Leclerc and Carson Miller. Miller has been snake bitten so far this season. Missed out on the Daytona 500 by just a little bit. By a tenth of a second over Dylan Matthews, and the way that things are running, Miller's going to back up that second place finish with a third place run here in Willow Springs, and will undoubtedly take the points lead going into the next race in Oregon. But sticks high in the air, 2 laps to go for Angel Gutierrez in that Home Depot number 28. Opening the gap by 2 more tenths of a second over Leclerc, and that move and damage for Leclerc is unfortunately gonna cost him. For Angel Gutierrez, very, very late tap on the shoulder to drive this 28 car for Cameron Garlington, who retired from full-time competition in NR2003 in early January. Tabbed Gutierrez to drive that 28 after Gutierrez was out of a ride after RF Trackhouse folded. Had a good run in the Daytona 500. Finished in 28th for car number 28 and is trying to get his second career win in dominating fashion in that 28 car, starting on the outside pole and never looked back. Coming out of turn number 9, Leclerc, 20 car lengths back. He is going to fall into the clutches of Carson Miller, but white flag is in the air one more time around the Willow Springs International Raceway for Angel Gutierrez. Had issues with his Home Depot Corvette yesterday afternoon, relegated him to a mid-pack finish for GT Le Mans. Trying to take the Home Depot and Chevrolet to victory lane here today. He's got 6 more corners to navigate through, as Esteban Leclerc trying to hope this 28 car has issues through the corner. That snake bit his chances of a good finish yesterday. Drives through with ease. Fans starting to get on their feet for the Bakersfield, California native. going on to the Monroe Ridge for the final time today. It's going to be too little too late for Lasser is through the back straightaway and entering the sweeper for the final time today. Angel Gutierrez, nothing out front, nothing out back, just the California sunshine waving through his cooler. And off of turn number 9, Bakersfield, California's Angel Gutierrez, checkered flag, career win number 2. It goes to Gutierrez in the 28 car. Lasser will finish second, third for Carson Miller as he'll get the points lead. Fourth is the 4, and rounding out the top 5 will be at 23 of Matthew Hubert. Eric Monaco finishes 4th in the 4. But what a win for Angel Gutierrez. He gets the win. Fastest lap will go to Alexander Rowe, who had the fastest lap yesterday for GT Daytona as well. And we'll see what the fastest pit stop will be in just a couple of moments. But domination out of the Bakersfield native. Got a little bit of drama in the late stages. Esteban Lasser able to bring home that 64. Tough break for Lasser just a little bit. You see the damage. The fab shop, the boys in the fab shop will have to refabricate. But it's a good win for Angel Gutierrez. You take a look at your full results. Gutierrez, Lasser, Miller, Monaco, and Hubert the top 5. Bradley Ream, a quiet but good day in that 2 car, will bring that 2 machine home in 6th. Davenport falls back to 7th. 8th will be Bruno Diacomo. 9th, Keegan Thompson. And round out the top 10, Brennan Wilmington. 39 cars finished this race on the lead lap. 40 in total. Alex Lozano was 3 laps down after having issues. Toby Murphy with a mechanical issue and Alexandre Vitale, the only retirees in this 34-lap race. The Willow Springs International. Chaotic days for both series. He had yesterday's race being basically a survival contest with all the chaos in both GT Le Mans and GT Daytona. And today, it's a pitting frenzy. A lot of feeding time in the service area here this afternoon. But what a race. What a finish. And what a performance from Angel Gutierrez, leading all but 6 laps in this race to claim his 2nd ever win in the Mission Barbecue Cup Series. Not done by fuel mileage, but done by sheer domination out of that 28 car. Congratulations to Angel Gutierrez on his win. But that's going to do it here from Willow Springs. Once more, congratulations to Angel Gutierrez for winning the Jukt Micronics 300K at the Willow Springs International Raceway. And we'll see you next week up north in Portland, Oregon for the first ever race at the now 2-year-old Oregon International Speedway for the Dutch Bros 500 on Friday, February 28th, 2025. Here on the North American Sim Racing Network, the first of 2 races in the Pacific Northwest before we end our West Coast swing over in Vancouver, Washington. But that is 2 weeks, and then next week will be the race up in Oregon, Portland, Oregon, for the Dutch Bros 500 in Vancouver. Of course, all coverage, all season, right here on the North American Sim Racing Network. Good morning, good afternoon, and once again, good night, ladies and gentlemen. Here are your point standings after Race 2 of the 2025 NR2003 Mission Barbecue Cup Series season. And from Rosamond, California, on behalf of the North American Sim Racing Network, my name is Trey Wright. Have a great evening, folks. We'll see you at the track next week.